Right, so apparently we've got our first story details of Star Wars Starfighter.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Great.
5 major actors declined the roles in the movie, which to me I can believe, because who the hell wants to work for Kathleen Kennedy in Star Wars? They're a joke. They're
Yeah.
an absolute joke now. But I'm glad we got you here for this, Nick. So let's take a look. So we learned that Deadpool and Wolverine director Sean Levi's mysterious Star Wars movie, which is set to star Ryan Gosling, was officially titled Star Wars Starfighter during Star Wars Celebration Japan last week. With a release date of May 28th, 2027. It says this: the reality is that this script is just so good. It has such a great story with great and original characters, said Gosling from the stage he was there. It's filled with so much heart and adventure, and there just really is not a more perfect filmmaker for this particular story than Sean. This is a standalone. It's not a prequel, not a sequel. It's a new adventure set in a period of time that we haven't seen explored yet.
Great.
No specific story details were disclosed during the presentation. We now have a little bit more information to go on. Daniel Richtman has basically revealed some stuff, and also reveals some actors that have turned it down. So this is what he says: Star Wars Starfighter follows a 15-year-old boy on a mission with his uncle, played by Ryan Gosling. They're being pursued by a duo of villains, one male, one female. Jesse Plemons, who I call Fat Damon, because he's a fat version of Matt Damon, so it's Fat Damon. Jesse, great actor though. No shade on Jesse Plemons. He's actually a really good actor, so just no shade there. Jesse Plemons and Jodie Comer were initially offered the villain roles, but both declined. Interesting. Mikey Madison was later, I don't know who that is, was later approached for the female villain, but also passed. Mickey Madison, I don't know who that is.
Yeah, she just won an Oscar or an Academy Award or something for something. She was apparently some big time.
She won an Academy Award for something.
Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head. I'd have to look it up. She's apparently like a up and coming big time award winning female actress.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, she passed. Another key role is the boy's mother, possibly Gosling's sister or sister-in-law, though that's unclear. Sarah Snook was offered the part but turned it down. Greta Lee was considered for another female role as a cantina owner that leads an encounter on their mission, but she too declined. Loads of people just been like, no, mate. No.
Yeah.
That's not shocking.
No, definitely not. Definitely not at all. So the movie will reportedly have a significantly smaller budget than the previous Disney era films. It's described as a more contained story. Levi's been developing the script with Jonathan Tropper, who did This Is Where I Leave You, The Adam Project, since 2022. It's also set to produce the film. So that's it really. That's apparently this is set after the events of the Rise of Skywalker as well.
5 years, I believe.
Yeah, which is interesting. It's interesting, isn't it, that this movie gets headway behind it, like some movement, and the Rey movie doesn't. Like, are they trying to pivot towards male-led movies again? I don't know.
Well, that depends on if you believe. Well, it depends on if you believe this report, which I might not necessarily, because
I don't know.
The second I hear somebody's like, "Oh, it's a Star Wars movie," okay, all right, it's about a guy. Nope, no, it's not. It would be the first one. It'd be the first one in. The Mandalorian was about a guy for a while until season 3, but yeah.
Yeah, that is true. So, what do we think? What do we think about all of this? The story details and stuff like that. Let's go to you, Nick, first, mate, because you are our resident Star Wars lover.
Yeah. Disney Star Wars is not Star Wars. But we watched Celebration when they like revealed this, all the whole panel, all that sort of stuff, and first off, the time period in it, like 5 years after the sequel trilogy, so basically sequel trilogy era, like who's asking for that? Those movies literally only made money because of they were the new Star Wars movies that were out, and Han, Luke, and Leia, and all them were, supposed to be in, from what we thought was going to be all of them. But I guarantee you, if they came out with an episode 10 picking up right where it left off, wouldn't even hit $1 billion. This movie right here is not going to hit $1 billion. And the other thing is, we were supposed to get Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron, which got canned.
Doesn't this sound like that almost?
Yeah, now we're getting Star Wars Starfighter. Are they taking elements from what they were going to do with her deal in Rogue Squadron and putting it into this? Because that was going to be taking place during the sequel era too, because they had the sequel era X-Wing in the logo and stuff of it. So I figured it was probably going to be happening around the same time. But then on the same side of things, this is, Disney Star Wars. And are we taking Starfighter too literal? And it's not really like, like pilots and ships and all that sort of stuff. Because if you watch the logo reveal, at the end, you hear a lightsaber ignite.
Oh, interesting.
You don't hear or see, and we haven't heard anybody talk about pilots and all this sort of stuff like in Rogue Squadron, because Luke Skywalker's original name was Luke Starkiller. So I'm just wondering the term Starfighter, if this is like an actual sort of like a Top Gun type thing with a bunch of fighter pilots and X-Wings and TIE fighters and or other ships from whoever the enemy is, or if this is just a fighter in the stars.
Yeah, true.
So that was something else that we were thinking about, because we know how they like to
well, I'll say this,
hurt expectations.
Just real quick, it does. I mean, it is Starfighter is one word, whereas if he was a fighter in the stars, it'd be Starfighter, wouldn't it? I guess.
Yeah,
I think
that's the only thing that I picked up on.
Yeah, no, this is definitely Fred Starfighter. That's who this is.
Yeah, but yeah, and as far as everybody that has declined key roles, we've been hearing that for years about people, writers, directors, actors. People are literally, I can't remember who it was. It was a big time writer or director that they were interviewing, and they're like, well, they're talking about, what are the projects, and they brought up, well, what about a Star Wars project? Would you ever be interested like that? And he just kind of smirked and was like, no, not interested in doing any of that. It's like Lucasfilm and Star Wars has been made into a complete joke. I mean, you basically were giving the ability to basically print your own money at the company. All the money you wanted. You had the ability. You had the printing press in your hands. And what'd you do? Start throwing wrenches and all kinds of crap in it. And now it's in the worst possible shape that it's ever been in of all time. Like culture always says, Star Wars is dead. And Andor, I know you guys haven't seen it, and we're not talking about it in today's show. I'm not going to get into spoilers for those of you who haven't seen it. But oh my God, I've only seen the first episode, and I have no interest in seeing the next two.
Really that bad?
Oh, it's terrible. I watched all three.
George Lucas is he's got to be beside himself with what they've done.
He's rolling in his grave. He's not even dead yet.
Yeah.
Wow.
He dug the grave, got in it, rolled around, and got out. That's how disgusted he is.
What a shame.
Yeah.
Just real quick, Tiki the Mighty says, how is Disney going to make a droid a girl boss in Star Wars Starfighter? I'm just learning today that's somehow possible.
Oh, they already did. They already did in the Solo movie.
Yeah, Phoebe
Waller-Bridge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
gosh.
So
It was-
take that,
yeah, that did
snarky
happen.
super chat comment.
Yeah,
Hey, well,
for
we-
droid rights.
we appreciate the snarky comment, but I
Of
agree.
course.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Super chats, definitely.
And Disney
100%.
and Disney
Yes,
is Disney's even turning synthetics into girl bosses in other franchises now. So here we go. Be a good time.
Sure. What do you reckon to this culture anyway?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Fred Starfighter and his nephew travel the universe like Mandalorian and Grogu. That's basically all this is.
Yeah,
This
it's
is
a
a
bit that, isn't it? Got
this is a
humans.
straight regurgitation of Bear and Cub, or Wolf and Cub, or other
Wolf
shit
and
and
Cub.
Cub. The Wolf and Cub, chimpanzee and Cub. I don't give two shits. All I know is this thing. Everybody from a mile away knows that Star Wars is dead. Kathleen Kennedy is the singular assassin involved in that. Her leadership led to a story group composed of people solely focused on diversity in dinosaurs, because that was a thing. And yeah, it's still a thing. They can't get out of their own way. And you know what? If the investors continue to invest their money in Disney, they know what they're getting. Garbage and a decline in their investment. And this is just that. I can't believe they got Gosling in here, to be fair. And
he's not
and-
a massive star,
Sinful
is he?
amount of money.
Really? Let's be honest. He's
well, I
not.
mean, after Barbie, you would
Barbie,
think,
yeah.
But look, he didn't drive anybody to go see Fall Guy, unfortunately, which I still think was a decent film.
I still haven't seen that, but I heard good things about it.
Yeah. Oh, hey, there it is, right there. This is
I thought I'd
Disney.
take a look at the stock. Really, I mean, it's not great, is it? It's coming
No.
up though.
Yeah, it's
not great.
just, yeah,
pretty terrible.
it's cyclical, and that's because other people have been reporting their earnings, and they were less than ideal. Although Comcast still beat Wall Street expectations and somehow went down, but Disney is likely to go down even more than this once their earnings come out. I don't see this thing getting near 100 ever again. I don't take advice from me or any other YouTuber or even that fucking guy on TV, that Kramer guy. But don't take advice, especially not
Hey,
Kramer.
you are cursing like a sailor today. What's wrong with you?
I'm angry. Yeah, I had to watch Andor. I will never. I'm done with Star Wars.
Don't take
I'm
it on
done
me.
with,
I didn't
I'm
ask
done
you
with
what it-
Disney.
Who'd you have to watch
Apparently
Andor
I'm
for?
done with Predator. I'm done
exactly.
with.
Why did you watch Andor?
Because I thought I was going to be queried about it by WW Pro because they were talking about it.
Ah.
So I think everybody, by the time they got done with the first episode of that season 2, they were like, "Yeah, no, And then they didn't get to watch all those super fun goodness of the graping, or the attempted grape.
Yeah, I haven't even seen episodes 2 and 3. I heard that happened.
Dude.
That's what I meant by George Lucas rolling in his grave.
Yeah. I'm talking about, dude. This is breaking Andor. This is so bad. They put this on Disney Plus. They took the aimed at kids, wizards with swords, space swords or some shit, and turned it into let's everybody die. This is an episode of Narcos. This will be a good time. Political intrigue and lots of death. Good times. This is anybody who ever introduces the idea that Star Wars is for kids is going to get the hard F you, strong letter to follow response from me. Because did you not watch Andor or any of the other crap with the space witches? Fucking space witches. I bet you there's space witches in this fucking, Starfighter thing. Fred's Starfighter and the freaking space witch lesbians of the galaxy. Or some shit.
All right, Marvin, what do you think about all of this?
Hey, real quick, Nate, pull up the 5-year on that Disney stock.
Oh yeah,
chart
terrible.
real quick.
It's awful.
Yeah.
It wasn't in the one. It was in the 120s at one point.
197.
Yeah.
197.
It's 100 points down, dude. This thing went down faster than a $3 hoe on nickel night, and it stayed there. So you're getting your money's worth for watching this descent. Jesus.
Yeah, the only way you're up right now is if you bought in the early, but pretty much before 2015.
Yeah.
If you bought Disney 10 years ago, you're still up. You might want to take your winnings and
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. If you can
All
dollar
right.
cost average your
Let's
way
get
out of this
Marvin's thoughts.
disaster,
Let's get Marvin's thoughts on the Gosling movie. 'Cause
why?
it's
He's going to sound the same as me.
what do you mean? What, he might have different thoughts?
No.
So at this point, who the hell cares with anything Star Wars related? It is just belligerent nonsense. All right, never mind.
You know, I mean, I agree. I think the funny, you know, let's be a bit more sort of intellectual about this. I think that the real reveal here, and it's not really a reveal, but it's something confirmation which we all knew anyway, but being out there more and more in the public eye, is the amount of people that turn down roles.
That's what I was going to talk
That's
about.
the reveal, isn't it? I mean, that's
what I wanted to. That's what I wanted to discuss. The fact is, imagine 10 years ago with all these actors and saying to them, "Hey, do you want to be in a Star Wars movie?" They all would have jumped head first into that. Now nobody wants it because look at it. What has happened to Daisy Ridley? No career anymore. John Boyega, no career anymore. Kelly Marie Tran, definitely no career anymore after this past weekend. Oof.
Yeah.
Oscar Isaac has something of a career, but that's petering out. And then look at the creatives behind it. Leslie Headland, she's done. Ryan Johnson is just, doing his Netflix stuff or whatever. But then you look at the way they treated people like Patty Jenkins, people like Colin Trevorrow, people like even Taika Waititi. None of them can get a movie off the ground. Nobody wants to work with this studio. Nobody wants to work with Kathleen Kennedy. All of Hollywood now knows that Star Wars is no longer Star Wars, which is something the fans have already known. Because here's the thing: like you had I can't even remember the Skeleton Crew. There was nothing offensive about Skeleton Crew for the most part. It was mostly fine. It was, but nobody cared because nobody cares about Star Wars anymore. When they announce something, there's no excitement because there is a 75% chance that the thing that they have announced will never actually happen. And now we're moving even further into the sequel trilogy timeline, which people just don't want because they're like, why? Like, this just solidifies the sequels as existing. And the main thing that people want, and the main thing that most people have told me, the only way they'd ever get back into Star Wars again is if the sequels were no longer a part of established canon, if they were just their own little pocket universe or whatever. That's not going to happen, unfortunately. And we're moving forward, but we're not moving forward far enough. I think that the only way to make Star Wars even slightly salvageable again is to move 500 years into the future where there's no more Rey, there's no more Finn. The only character that still exists is Grogu, and he's an adult. And probably a Mandalorian Jedi, and you just have an entirely new Star Wars galaxy that you can then play around in. I think that's the only way forward.
No, I don't think there's any way forward under Disney. They'll go 500 years in the future and it will still suck. And people still won't like it. So we just got the Acolyte, which was 500 years in the past, and that turned out great for them. Disney Star Wars will never succeed, in my opinion. Never. No matter what they do, they have destroyed it so bad. It's done for. It doesn't matter what they do, who they bring in, it's not going to be successful in them.
Correct.
They need to sell it and sell it to somebody that actually cares. And that on day, literally, if I had the money to buy it from day one, I'd come out and say, all this crap Disney did, non-canon. It never happened. That's day one. Everybody involved, fired day one. And I'd be like, you know what? We are getting this back to a family-friendly boy brand franchise that is going to be fun, and it's going to be Star Wars. Day one. That's the only thing. And then the first movie, I mean, I'm taking a year or two just for planning. That's the only way Star Wars comes back. It'll never come back under Disney.
Well, the main problem was, and we have seen this since the very beginning, is that they took this Star Wars and Disney's entire focus since buying it was, we want to take it away from the people that love it and give it to new people who don't want it. Period. End.
Yeah. Well, just
Yeah.
just real quick, Zombie Box Reviews makes a very valid point over on Super Chats, and he says, "But a little birdie told us that they were going to retcon the sequel trilogy. They told us don't be a bunch of black pills and have faith in Favreau to turn
Yeah.
things around because he won the Civil War against Kathleen Kennedy.
Yeah, she's still there and he's not.
Yeah.
He's obviously shitting
He's
on Cameron.
Yeah.
He's leaving.
And I did see Zombie Box talk about how they'll never retcon it. Yeah, and they never.
I got the
Paul
reference.
Rudd leads the
Yeah,
sequel
yeah.
trilogy.
Nobody is. Nobody over at Disney is retconning anything they've done ever. That only happens if they sell it and somebody else comes out and says, "Guess what, guys? None of that stuff happened." The new ownership retcons it. Disney's never going to retcon it.
Hey, I think they restart Star Wars by having Luke Skywalker wake up next to his wife, and say, "Oh,
I had the worst dream.
I had the worst dream," just like the Newhart show, and then you're
There
done.
was a snarky British female there.
There was this just detestable English Brit female that was terrible. Yeah, it'd be great.
You know, all British people are terrible.
Well, they're always the villains in the Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
So we knew, we had to know. Inside, we all had to know that after Force Awakens, we knew that Daisy Ridley was a Sith. We knew it.
Obi-Wan Kenobi was British.
He didn't sound British.
Yes,
Gary says, someone wakes up in Star Wars and says, "Oh, thank God. All that shit was just a nightmare."
There you go.
Oh,
That's
okay.
it.
Culture wasn't even being original. He was just glomming off the super chat.
I didn't even see that super chat.
Sure, you didn't.
You guys are mean to me. Been saying that for years, though.
Uh-huh.
And by the way, I had a funny tweet. So
We're happy.
it wasn't about Star Wars.
What was the tweet?
I don't remember. Anyway, what's great is this Starfighter thing.
Yeah.
This is a post interest Disney Star Wars. Because none of us are interested.